We begin this hour with breaking news. In the past few minutes, 3 Bulgarians have been convicted at the Old Bailey of spying for Russia. Vanya Gaberova, Tihomir Ivanchev and Katrin Ivanova were all found guilty of being part of what prosecutors called one of the largest and most complex Russian spy operations ever uncovered on UK soil. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt has this.
Great Yarmouth, Norfolk, the unlikely nerve centre of an astonishing Russian spy operation.
Police! Police! Stay where you are! Police!
When police raided the spy master's home, a holiday hotel, they found it packed with surveillance gear. There were dozens of mobile phones, computer hard drives and drones, and false passports and identity documents in more than 50 names. Orlin Rusev, a Bulgarian, ran the spy ring. He pleaded guilty to espionage charges. So too did Ivan Stoyanov, a cage fighter, and Biza Jumbazov, a delivery driver. He was in a love triangle with 2 of the gang. The group targeted opponents of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The spy operation was extensive and well funded by the Russians. The group had hacking software, signal jammers and GPS trackers. Cameras and microphones were hidden in watches, sunglasses and jewellery, and they weren't short on ambition.
You remind me of my wife.
They discussed recruiting the actor Sacha Baron Cohen to use his Kazakh comedy character Borat in a fake campaign against the Kazakhstan government. The Russians would then expose the so-called campaign to impress the Kazakhs. On a flight from London to Vienna, they filmed journalist Christo Grozhev and planned to kidnap him. Grozhev had exposed the Russian military unit behind the Salisbury poisoning of double agent Sergei Skripal.
We're now seeing those foreign states who still want to conduct that activity having to resort to working with criminal proxies or groups like this group of Bulgarians to try and have the biggest effect they can in this country.
On trial was Katrin Ivanova, a lab assistant, Vanya Gaberova, a beautician, and Tihomir Ivanchev, a painter and decorator. They all denied spying charges. In a police interview, Ivanchev said he thought he'd been hired by Interpol, not the Russians.
What was explained to me, obviously, is like it's going to be like a paid holiday. Just I'm going to go, and eventually if I can see the bad guy, I mean, now I completely understand it's being completely different.
In Germany, the group planned to use a specialist device, a phone identity grabber, to capture the mobile numbers of Ukrainian soldiers under training. It would help the Russians target the enemy troops when they were back fighting in Ukraine. The operation was allegedly controlled by Jan Marsalek, an Austrian, a fraud suspect who'd fled to Moscow.
I think the use of proxies has always been part of Russian intelligence's modus operandi. And of course it has certain advantages in it, because if you're able to use a foreign national, particularly in this case Bulgarian with EU passports and pretty much freedom of movement into UK at the time, it turns the security services job into the search for a needle in a haystack.
Police! Stay where you are!
According to the prosecution, the operation was run on behalf of Russia's military intelligence and state security agencies. Martin Brunt, Sky News, Central London.